An underrated tip for increasing your hip mobility. There are many reasons why you might want to increase your hip mobility. Maybe it's because you want to increase the quality of your squats, maybe the depth to which you can do your squats. Maybe it's for any type of thing like wrestling where having good hip mobility in certain positions is beneficial. However, I believe this is a really good way to help that, and that is crawling. Crawling is essentially a very underrated thing to do for hip mobility. It is commonly prescribed for youth athletes. Sometimes I believe not as much, but I think it's really beneficial and mostly used with youth athletes. However, I think crawling can be used for any athlete, any age, any person that trains, and any age that will be as well. I believe crawling is a bit more fun than the usual traditional stuff that is prescribed when wanting to increase hip mobility. A lot of times you're prescribed very static drills that have a perfect or ideal position that you need to be, ideal way that it needs to look as well. Whereas crawling is a very imperfect thing, like crawling is just crawling. There's no really right or wrong way to do it. I think you're kind of missing the point if you have a perfect way of doing it, keeping your back straight, whatever. Because crawling has a very easy entry point. You just do the crawl, and if you do the crawl right, what you'll have is this really deep range of motion. Thighs touching the calves, ankles, getting a good stretch on it, and you're going to do it dynamically. And within this dynamic fashion, in this locomotion, I believe you're really increasing the resiliency as well of the hip structure because you're moving in various ways. Not only are you sitting in a deep squat position, not only are your hips in a large range of motion, it's also moving the whole time, and you got to move the hip over a certain way. So it's almost like a hip movement or drill that we sometimes prescribe, but it's just more dynamic. If you want to try it one time, just before your squats, do a few sets of crawls. Some exercise I really like is the horse walk. This is really great. You can put your hands above your head or keep your hands wherever you like. You can do this laterally as well. That's just as good. Do it for about 10 to 15 meters for 3 or 4 sets. Then maybe move on to a Spider-Man crawl. Sometimes I like to do these explosively as shown in the video. You can just crawl usually as well, trying to get your leg up to your head as far as possible. And generally, those are a good exercise. There are various exercises you can do for crawls. All on YouTube, a lot of people have these type of crawls and have a lot of variations. These two I use a lot. I have used others as well. But the main point is doing these maybe before squats, you already feel the difference about how it feels. And sometimes I wonder how good of a stimulus some of these traditional drills really are to create change in hip mobility. Spending 20 seconds in a bit of a deep squat or with your heels elevated, how much can that change in your body if what you're truly seeking is change in your hip mobility? Whereas if you spend 2 to 3 times a week doing these type of crawls, I truly believe it's enough to make a change in your body. However, crawls are not magic. I just think it's a good tool, and it's an underrated tool, especially for even older athletes. Like I said, I think a lot of times it gets prescribed for young athletes. However, I think it goes all the way. And there's a lot of other benefits to crawls as well, which I'll discuss in another video. That is why I opt to do them, because I feel there's more than just the benefit to hip mobility. I'll discuss those benefits in another video.